subscribe. Thanks very much for having me on the chat, and hello to a few friendly faces I can see there as well. So lovely to see everyone here. So I think in one sense, you might say it's a bit of a stepping stone to what you just described, but I think that's mainly in terms of its level. And so we'll come back to that. We put this together pre-pandemic in a world where thinking that Newstart might rise by $75 a week sounded like a ridiculously optimistic scenario. So I completely accept that doesn't get you to the poverty line, and we need to do something that really does. So in that sense, yes. I think in the other sense, and I'll just run through what it is in a second. Part of our approach is questioning what we mean by means testing and what we mean by universalism and its relationship. And in that sense, I don't think we would necessarily say our proposal is a stepping stone. It really is the end result. So just to give you the basics, our proposal is essentially for Newstart plus $75 a week, which is about $18,500 a year. That would go to every adult of working age. So the proposal isn't about people who are of pension age, and it's for people 18 and over. It's individualised, so everyone gets it. And it is not conditional on any activity, doing anything, filling in any forms beyond that. But it is means tested. It's means tested in a very light way, which means that people receive some of the payment all the way up to $180,000 a year. They don't receive any payment above $180,000 a year. And the way the means test works, we said, look, there is no real difference between us giving everyone a universal payment and then taxing them 40 cents in the dollar, or giving everyone a payment and means testing at 40 cents in the dollar. That those two things are effectively identical. Yeah, they have the same impact on your income, on the incentives you face. They have the same impact on the budget costings and bottom line. So there are some versions of basic income which often called a negative income tax, which take that approach to its logical conclusion, which is to say that when you start earning income, you lose a payment through a means test up until the point that you have no payment left, at which case you start paying tax at usually exactly the same rate as the means test. That doesn't have to be the case, but most proposals say that. And that means that there are no people who receive a payment who pay income tax, and no people who pay income tax who receive a payment. Now, our proposal is not that. It's kind of halfway between that negative income tax and a universal payment funded through the tax system, if that makes sense. So it has a more gentle means test that is deliberately designed to integrate into the existing tax system on a principle that the amount you lose per dollar should increase as your income increases. So people with lower incomes should lose less money per dollar they earn, and people on very high incomes should lose more income per dollar they earn. Yeah, that's a principle of the progressive tax system. That's not the case at the moment, as anyone who's on a payment probably knows. As you start earning income, you lose your benefit at a much higher rate than the lowest marginal tax rate. So it smooths that out. And I think, so we looked at where that leaves you in terms of inequality and poverty and the budget's bottom line. And we can talk about that. I imagine you probably want to talk about that a little bit. But I think it also, for us, it outlined some practical measures that you could incrementally move in that direction. And they are to get rid of the other conditions that aren't means testing from Newstart, or whatever the basic payment is, job seeker now. That you should individualise payments so that they're not dependent on what somebody else does, only on what you do. And that you, instead of giving tax cuts to people, particularly on higher incomes, we reduce the means test for people on lower incomes. And that should be the basis of governments wanting to give back bracket creep, stimulate demand, whatever, that is much more redistributive, much fairer, I think, and actually has better incentive effects too, better kind of macroeconomic competition effects, to the extent you're interested in that. So I don't know if that's useful as a overview, but effectively it's $18,500 a year. Everyone gets it who's of working age. It's completely individualized. There is no work test, activity test of any sort. And you gradually lose it like you do paying income tax until eventually there's none of it left when you're earning quite a lot of money.